I think we need to start this episode with a trigger warning because what we're going to talk about today is going to trigger your sympathetic nervous system, your fight, flight, freeze. So I want you to think about the worst thing that someone could ever think about you or say about you. Not you're selfish or you're too much, you don't care. Those are all hard things. If someone thinks those things about you, that is going to feel bad. But you know what's going to wreck you? Like you will be lying awake at 3 a.m., replaying everything you've ever done and rethinking all of your life's decisions is when someone thinks that you're lazy. Lazy, I know, just the idea of it. Like the look on someone's face when you mention that you're taking an afternoon off. The idea that someone might think that you aren't working as hard as you possibly could be, which means you're lazy. That is the one that gets you. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. I know I told you. I gave you a trigger warning. We will just breathe through it. We'll get through it together. And I know last week I just told you that you need to be bored. And now I'm asking you to be lazy. Yeah, that's where we're going today. I have a client who spent 30 years in a very demanding career, 60 to 80-hour work weeks for the whole length of her career. And her job was, there was always something more to do. Someone always needed something, and everything was always very urgent. As she was getting close to retirement age, she was like, this is the thing that keeps me going. This idea that I'm going to get to a finish line, that this exhaustion, this never-ending busyness has an end point. And all of the things that I've been looking forward to will begin. And when I tell you she had been planning for her retirement, she was going to do it up. She was very excited about sleeping in, but the most exciting thing, she'd been keeping a list of all the books that she really wanted to read and just hadn't had time to. And it was so cute. She was like, I'm finally going to read Harry Potter and I'm going to see what all the fuss was about. And then she retired. About 4 or 5 months later, I got a message from her asking for a check-in because apparently within weeks of her retirement, she had filled it back up. Every single hour of the day, she was busy, like 60 to 80 hours a week. She was taking classes. She was volunteering. She was doing projects around the house and organizing things that needed to be organized. And not one Harry Potter book had been read. Now, we had talked about this already because when she was growing up, she had the mom who, if you were sitting down and she walked into a room, everybody jumped up and either found something to do or pretended to be busy because if you've got time to lean, you've got time to clean. My client learned very quickly to never say that she was bored as a kid because what would happen? Mom would give you things to do. And if you have time to be bored, you have time to do things. And she's like, I know what I'm doing. Everything that I have busied my days with is something that I don't need to be doing, but it's like I can't stop. It's like I cannot let myself sit down and read this freaking Harry Potter until all the things that I didn't get to do because I was so busy working, I finish. She was like, what is wrong with me? I have been desperately looking forward to this, and now I can't even enjoy it. Nothing was wrong with her. Literally everything was working exactly as it had been trained to do. Her identity was being a hard worker, being busy. If you're sitting and there's still things to do, you're lazy. And lazy was the worst thing you could possibly be. It was like a slur. And this definition of laziness was reinforced everywhere. It was true at home. It was true at school. She could see how she was praised, how successful she was because she was a very hard worker and she never stopped. It was reinforced at church. Being a hard worker was the highest compliment anyone could give you. And being lazy was a moral failure. And there was no in between. There was no version where you could do both, be a hard worker and rest well. It was one or the other. And so for all of her life, not just the years that she was active and busy in her career, my client didn't sit unless she was burnt out and she got sick and had no choice but to rest. So when she got to retirement, she thought that she would just naturally shift into this new identity and she would be a person who knows how to relax. This is going to be awesome. We are reading Harry Potter and sleeping in. Her nervous system was like, yeah, no. Because even though she thought this is going to be awesome, we are reading Harry Potter and sleeping in, her nervous system was like, yeah, no. Because you can't introduce a foreign concept to your nervous system and just expect it to be cool with it. New equals emergency. Always. So in order to be able to retire and rest, she had to train her nervous system to accept and allow retired resting person identity and override the old belief that rest is lazy and that lazy is a moral failure. You big loser. Okay, so I want you to think about this. What is your relationship with hard work and resting and laziness? Did you learn that the person who worked the hardest was put on a pedestal? Did you believe that people who work hard are better, worthier, and people who take breaks and rest are lazy and less worthy? Did you learn that the thing that we admire about people is that they work themselves to the bone? Just a couple days ago, I was talking to a different client, and she was telling me about this project that she did that had gone really smoothly. And she was not expecting that. She was expecting this was going to be a whole thing, complicated. She was going to have to be involved in every little step. And instead, it ended up being really easy. There wasn't any drama. And she was ready for drama. So instead of feeling really happy and relieved about this, she felt super anxious. She was like, clearly I've missed something, because if you don't get to the finish line with either blood or sweat or tears, then did you even try? Do you even care? What did you miss? Blood and sweat and tears. That is how we get to a finish line. That's the proof that you were committed and that you are taking this so seriously that you will suffer for it, because suffering is also morally superior. If you're resting, it means you clearly didn't care enough. Obviously, you didn't try hard enough. Rest means take a deep breath. Rest means you're lazy, and lazy is unworthy and not admirable. You are not someone to look up to. This is why my client, both of my clients, all of you, this is why telling yourself that it's okay for you to rest, to take a break, just doesn't work. It's not because you don't want it. It's because you have a belief system and an identity that has you morally opposed to rest, because rest equals lazy. So let's look at the scary L word. What does lazy mean? Because you just kind of use it casually. You're flinging it around, and I don't think you're using it right. It's like Princess Bride. You keep using that word. I don't think that word means what you think it does. Lazy, as our culture defines it, would be resting before you have earned it. That's the whole vibe. Like, yeah, of course, you can rest, totally, but only after everything's done, after your entire to-do list is finished, there's nothing left to do. After the whole house is clean, not one dish in the sink. After your whole project is finished, then sure, go ahead and rest if you really need to. But if there's anything left to do and you sit down, that's lazy. I hope you already know this and it goes without saying, but there's a real big fundamental problem with this, because your to-do list doesn't have an end. It has never ended. It will never end. It's an infinity list. It is constantly regenerating. 3 things come off and 4 things have already replaced it, which means there is no moment when you've finished everything. So basically, you've built a whole system where rest is technically allowed, but actually impossible. Because if there is no end to the list, then all rest is lazy. So the moment you sit down, even though you've told yourself it's okay, you can rest, you start feeling the discomfort. You start hearing the voice. I shouldn't be doing this. There's still a lot left to do. I haven't earned this. And then you call yourself lazy. If in this lifetime you would enjoy resting without calling yourself lazy, without having all the guilt, then you have to expand your capacity to feel the discomfort of the wrath of laziness. Just like in the last episode, we talked about how bored is on the other side of content. They're basically the same feeling, just coming from different thoughts. Rest and laziness, same thing. They're basically the same feeling. The only difference is the story you're telling yourself about it. And I think what we need to do, we either need to reclaim the word, like lazy is a good thing, or we just need to retire it. Call it something else. Call it stopping. You just stopped. You're not resting. You're not lazy. You just stopped doing for a while because you're a human being, not a human doing. Humans stop sometimes. It's just a matter of fact. There's no morality at stake here, no up or down on the worthy ladder. Humans do and humans stop. It's part of a cycle. There's doing and there's resting. There's busy and there's lazy. It's all there. One isn't better than the other. You have to do both. And maybe if we redefine it like this, you can start shifting that identity, that in order to be a worthy, admirable, successful person, you don't have to be moving and doing at all times. What if the most committed and devoted, the most deeply caring version of you is someone who stops regularly? Not because you don't care. It's not because you're not good enough, that you don't have enough drive. It's because you're a human that stops. You stop and you do. We're reclaiming this. We're reclaiming boredom and we're going to reclaim lazy. So this week, I want you to add on to last week's assignment of letting yourself be bored. And we're also going to practice being lazy, aka resting before everything is done. Now, this does not mean shutting down or doom scrolling. This is not hypovigilance. Just sit down before your list is done. Just take a walk before you have replied to every email. And when it feels uncomfortable, and it will, you are just going to stay. When your brain starts generating a very compelling case for why you should get up and do something, you're going to stay in that discomfort. And when it starts to feel suspiciously like boredom, like we talked about last week, you already know what that is. This is your nervous system right on the edge of regulated. Stay there. Stay right past this discomfort of lazy is rest without guilt. And that discomfort isn't a problem. It's just your old programming bumping up against the new identity. You don't need to make the discomfort go away. You just need to prove to your nervous system, one uncomfortable, boring, lazy session at a time, that stopping and resting is safe. All right? Now, you know what's going to happen tomorrow after work. Your nervous system is going to completely forget this conversation ever happened. You need to be ready for that. Start your day with an intentional reminder. Make sure you are getting the daily recalibration, a reminder to drop in your inbox every morning that keeps it in front of you before the day grabs you by the face and has its way with you. And I want to leave you with one last thing, because this message, last week's message, and next week's message are basically my why I keep talking to you about taking yourself out of the old programming, opting out of what society tells you you are supposed to be. It's because that system, the one that has been teaching you since you were practically born, that laziness is a moral failure, that system needs you exhausted. It doesn't want you well rested. It doesn't want you having time to think. Because an exhausted person doesn't question things. An exhausted person does not have the bandwidth to argue or to ask why. An exhausted person just keeps going because that's all they have the energy to do. the most radical thing you can do to opt out of the system is to rest on purpose. Be bored. Be lazy. Next week, we are going to talk about the third uncomfortable thing. And I will say, if lazy was a trigger, maybe do some breath work before you press play next week. Okay. Everything you need to know, the recalibration, coaching links, it's all in the show notes, or you can go to KristenFinch.com and find everything there. All right, you go off, have a boring, lazy day, and I'll see you next week.